Hello children, today we are going to study the energy flow in ecosystem. Can you see the picture? You all are very much aware that it is a picture of a forest. Have you ever wondered why forests survive for thousands of years even without any single animal being fed? No one gives food to a deer, nor does anyone water each and every plant, nor does anyone collect the garbage from the jungle. Still, the forest continues to thrive. Why? Because nature has designed an incredible system where every living organism depends on the other. Nothing is wasted. Every organism has a role to play. Look around your home. Vegetable waste becomes a compost. Dry leaves become manure. Dead organisms become nutrients for the plants. Plants become food for the animals. And animals eventually return nutrients to the soil. So, see the heading, nature wastes nothing. Nature wastes nothing. This is what you have to remember. Okay? So now, when we say nature wastes nothing, today's chapter explains one of the greatest scientific principles of life, the flow of energy in an ecosystem. So by understanding this chapter, you will be able to understand why cutting of forests affects rainfall, why extinction of one species can disturb the entire ecosystem, and why every organism from bacteria to elephants is important. See, this chapter is not just biology, it is the science behind life itself. So now let's begin. Can you think of everything, can you think of anything in nature that is completely useless? Can you? Remember, there is nothing as such that is useless. Okay? So now let us move towards the importance of grass. What will happen if every grass blade, that is, if every blade of grass vanished overnight? Can you imagine that one morning you get up and you see that every blade of grass has disappeared? We have 4 options in front of us. The first option says nothing will happen. Okay. What I suggest is don't answer immediately, you think. So, if according to the first option nothing happens and which is impossible, then we have to move towards the next option. See, first and foremost, the second option that we see is the cows may die. Because of the disappearance of the grass, the cows will die. When we say cows, we represent cow as the particular animal to represent the animals that eat grass directly. So do you think that only cows would die? Think. See, grass is the first producer in most of the ecosystems. So without producers, there is no food at all. Okay. And option 2 says only cows will die. Think carefully. Option 1 says nothing will happen. Option 2 says only cows will die. Think carefully. What would happen to the lions? What happens to the tigers? What will happen to the humans who depend on the cattle? What about the milk production? What about agriculture? What about economy? See, everything is going to change. So it's not that only the cows will die. Rest of all these points are to be considered. Okay. So, now the option number 4 tells us that only plants will be affected. Do you think so? Only plants would be affected? Think again. Give a thought. This is also incorrect. So, plants are the base of every food chain. Remember. So, only one option remains. That is option number 3, which says the entire ecosystem will collapse. And this is 100% correct. Why? See, every trophic level depends on the one below it. Remove the foundation, the building will collapse. Just think, remove producers, consumers will disappear. That is why ecologists call the producers the backbone of every ecosystem. Suppose the mosquitoes disappear. Will the ecosystem be affected in any way? I want you to answer in the chat box. Okay? Please answer. Now I want you all to understand what exactly we are going to learn from this lesson. See what we are going to learn. By the end of this lesson, you will confidently be able to explain what is an ecosystem, what is the difference between food chain and food web. What did I say? What is the difference between food chain and food web? What are the different trophic levels? Why only 10% energy reaches the next level? What is an energy pyramid? What is biogeochemical cycle? What is a carbon cycle? What is a nitrogen cycle? What is an oxygen cycle? All these, particular cycles we are going to study together, we are going to understand together. You can see here the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle and the oxygen cycle. All of this we are going to learn together and we are going to compare. And remember, the questions asked in Dr. Homi Bhabha Bal Vaignanik competition are all connected with these particular concepts. Okay? Now let us move on to the next slide. That is slide number 4. Can you see the beautiful picture of the ecosystem? It is divided into two parts. One has the biotic part, that is pictures of the biotic factors, and the other side has the pictures of the abiotic factors. Now see, in the biotic factors, you see what is included is the plants, the animals, you can see the birds, the fish, the fungi, the bacteria, the protozoans. Can you see all this? See, all of this is belonging to the biotic factors. Look at the plants, the mammals, the deer, the grass, the fox, all of this is the biotic. Okay? And when we talk of the abiotic, here we see the sunlight, the air, the water, the temperature, the soil, the minerals, all these are the abiotic factors. Now let us remember, an ecosystem is a functional unit where the living organisms interact with the non-living organisms. Okay? What you have to understand? An ecosystem is a functional unit where living organisms interact with each other and with their physical environment. Okay? Now, in this particular definition, the most important word is interact. Okay? Interact. What is the meaning of interact? See, the trees need the sunlight. You all know that. The trees need the sunlight. They prepare the food in the presence of sunlight by the method of photosynthesis. Here you see that these fish need the oxygen. Now the oxygen is dissolved in water, but the fish need the oxygen, right? You can see that the birds, they depend on the insects. The fungi, they depend on the dead organisms. So everything here is interconnected. Everything. One component cannot exist independently. That is why disturbing even one of the factors will affect the entire ecosystem. Remember, bio means life. Abiotic means without life. So, this particular method will help you to remember what is bio and what is abiotic. Now, let us move on to the next slide. Can you see here? This particular diagram classifies everything inside an ecosystem. On one side, we have placed all the abiotic factors like light, temperature, water, air, soil, rocks, rainfall and the wind. So, these determine where the organisms can survive. For example, the camels survive in the deserts, right? Why is it possible for them to survive in the desert? Because they can tolerate high temperatures and less water. Think about the polar bear. They can survive in extremely cold climates. Now, when we talk of the biotic factors, the plants, animals, microorganisms, all of them. Remember, plants produce food, animals consume food, microorganisms recycle the nutrients. So if microorganisms disappeared, the dead organisms would never decompose. Always remember, the presence of microorganisms is very important. You know, if not for them, the earth would soon be filled with all dead plants and animals. So bacteria, although very tiny, perform one very important and biggest jobs in nature. So never underestimate the microorganisms. They are nature's recyclers. I would like if you really answer few questions for yourself, for your understanding. What are abiotic factors? What are biotic factors? List them so that you know the examples for each. Also remember why the bacteria are so important. Today we stop here, my dear children, because I would continue in the next particular lecture, wherein we will continue with the understanding of the different cycles, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, all of it, how they are all dependent on each other. All this is going to give you all a very good understanding and a lot of confidence to answer all the questions that appear conceptual based in the examination, any competitive examination as a matter of fact. So, I stop here. Do come forward for the next episode. Thank you very much.